I got a business coach. And so she really helped me see that, you're leaving a lot of money on the table by feeling like you have to do all of this yourself. There's a lot of administrative tasks that you're doing yourself that you don't have to. There's some things creatively that you could be farming out.
Hey everybody, today I'm thrilled to be joined by Corey Walker. If you don't know Corey, she is the co-author of Instagram for Dummies and Instagram for Business for Dummies. Dummies being me. She's also the owner of The Marketing Specialist, which is a digital agency in El Dorado Hills, California. Corey works with several clients to produce social media strategies, create content, advise on video, and buy ads on multiple platforms. Corey, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Hi.
I'm so happy you're here.
Me too.
And just so our audience doesn't get super duper excited, we're not really going to be talking about Instagram today. We're going to be talking about how you increase your profits by adding an assistant and more systems, which I think is a super fun and amazing topic. I'm really excited.
Yes, it's fun.
I myself am always hemming and hawing about getting a virtual assistant. So I literally have my notepad here ready to take notes as we chat. But the first question, as always, is what made you decide to do this silly thing and own your own agency?
Yeah, so I have owned my agency for a long time. Probably, I think it's going on at least 18 years. Wow. So when I say I've had a digital agency for this whole time, that's not true because there really wasn't digital when I started. So I started really as a marketing agency. But the real reason was I was working in corporate. I worked for Vision Service Plan and Ifinity, all in, marketing roles. And I had my first daughter, and she was about 18 months old, and she was in daycare full time. And I just noticed that I was missing a lot of her firsts, like first steps and, all these things that she was doing at daycare. And it just kind of broke my heart. And we were in the midst at the company that I was in of kind of reorganizing, and I would just sit in my cubicle and I didn't have that much to do because they still hadn't kind of figured out where everybody was going to be and all these things. So here I am, just sitting at my cubicle thinking I could be with my daughter right now. Mm-hmm. So that's when I decided, how can I make this work on my own? And I really started by pitching some of the people that I had worked with to see if I could get some overflow work at home. So that's kind of how it took off. And then I started using LinkedIn a little bit more and got some bigger clients that way. But yeah, the real impetus was just I wanted more time at home with my daughter, and I just didn't really want to do the cubicle life anymore.
Well, that's very understandable. And we hear that a lot on this show. And tell the audience a little bit about the clients that you serve.
So I have a mix. I have a few corporate clients that I've had for years and years, and they're amazing and they keep growing. So, somebody over in this department will hear about me and then they'll refer me over to someone else. So that is a big, nice chunk of what I do all the time. But then I also serve a lot of smaller businesses. So I do have some smaller businesses that are in healthcare. I have some restaurant clients. And then I have, I'm starting to get more realtors, lawyers, those types of professionals that are saying like, oh yeah, we really need to start doing a lot more with our social media marketing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And especially, I feel like realtors are really starting to take over on Instagram, which I'm not mad about. I mean, I love following the realtors and the designs and the furniture. So I'm not mad about that at all.
Yes, yes.
So let's rewind a little bit. it's a few years before you've decided to make this leap and hire your assistant and kind of enhance your systems. What was it like? Like, give me the day in a life of Corey and the challenges that you were facing.
Yeah, I mean, I stayed with the challenge for many, many years, more than I should have. My husband for years was like, you need to get a virtual assistant. You need to, do more, get more help because you could really grow. But I was stubborn and I was a control freak.
Aren't we all?
Yes. And so I just, I'd always done all the work myself, and I couldn't picture handing that off to someone because I'm also a bit of a perfectionist and I didn't want it to get screwed up. So I thought, I don't know. So day to day, I was doing it all myself. I was going a little crazy because I'd be bebopping in between things, and I still do a bit of that, I must admit. Between all different things at all different times. And it's just really hard to keep track of all of that. And it just limited my growth. I could do only so much in a day. And so it would get to the point where I'd have, so many clients, and I'd say, okay, shop's closed. I'm just working on these and I'm not taking on any new clients. So that really stunted my ability to have any more earnings besides those hours that I had available in a day.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that that inability to grow, getting stuck in that growth pattern, was really the impetus that made you go ahead and start looking for an assistant?
Yes. Well, I did. I got a business coach. And so she really helped me see that, you're leaving a lot of money on the table by feeling like you have to do all of this yourself. There's a lot of administrative tasks that you're doing yourself that you don't have to. There's some things creatively that you could be farming out. So that was really, it's like, yeah, my husband will tell me things all the time, like, yeah. But when I hire a business coach and they tell me to do it, then I listen.
Isn't that funny how that works? Yeah. Alex, if you're listening, I still love you. So how did you go about finding the right assistant? So you got this advice and then you knew you had to find an assistant. What qualities or skills were you looking for to complement what you needed at that point in time?
Yes. So I needed somebody that could do a lot of work in Canva, to be honest. So, I have several clients that just need some regular posts out several times a week. So I needed somebody that was really proficient in Canva, and I found that person. I also needed someone that was open to taking on, different types of tasks and really good about learning, and maybe had used ClickUp before. That maybe will come later in your questions, but that's what I use as a system. So yeah, really somebody that could take on a lot of that graphic design work that I was doing all myself and wasn't honestly even that wonderful about. I think I'm better with the ideas than executing on Canva. So I need someone that was better than me. I can tell you what I like and what I don't like, and I can do stuff in Canva just fine. But taking it to the next level, I wanted someone that was better than I was.
I like that you mentioned that you wanted this person to have skills in the project management system that you use, because I think that's so important. As I'm going on this journey myself right now, this has kind of been gnawing at the back of my brain, which is, we use Keep as our CRM. This is where like our automations happen for email and our list and all of that. And I feel like I need someone who is proficient in Keep. So I really like that you mentioned that. And I like that you mentioned ClickUp. We've had that mentioned several times on several shows. So can you detail that system a little bit? And What did that process look like? Did you have to write down the standard operating procedures or processes that you wanted this person to do in ClickUp, or how did you make that happen?
Yes. So that was one of the first things. Even before you hire a virtual assistant, you should really just do a brain dump and think, what are the things that I'm doing right now that really I don't need to do? Whether they, if you want to keep complete control over client work, that's fine. There's still things that a virtual assistant could be doing, whether it's, bookkeeping or just keeping your projects moving along behind the scenes, or maybe it's just sending, keeping track of your email analytics. There's all sorts of tasks that could be done. So that was the first thing. And then once I figured that out and hired someone, then I would go through and say, okay, so I decided that for this client, my VA, his name's Vince, shout out to Vince, that Vince would do, Canva graphics for this certain client. So I'd set up that certain client. And then I would say, okay, every Monday I need 3 graphics created for this client. And then I would show them some other samples of things that we've done in the past. I might link to my existing Canva. I kind of just have a string in Canva for that client. So I would link to that so they would have the background about it. And then maybe underneath it also have their website. So they had some frame of reference to go by. Another thing, so that would be kind of for each client, I would set that up. And then I would also set up what's called a job bio. So I go in and I say, and this was super helpful because a lot of things, you don't want to have to do a new task in ClickUp for things that they're going to do every week anyway. It's kind of like, okay, it's too much work. So a job bio is basically something that they're going to do every week and you don't have to tell them. So my job bio for Vince might say, weekly content for Corey, develop, 3 carousels based on Instagram news. So that might be his Monday task. And then Tuesday task might be get materials ready for my email newsletter. So you just go through and you could either have, daily tasks, weekly tasks, however you want to set it up. But having those things that that they have to do every day, every week is helpful. So you're not constantly, you need to do this week. It's like, yeah, I know. Yeah. So those things help.
That makes a lot of sense. And did you end up, I'm curious because we do this, or we've started doing this for a lot of our SOPs, for lack of a better word, processes. We started filming them. Do you film any of that logistical stuff for Vince? Shout out Vince.
Sometimes I don't keep those videos typically within ClickUp, but sometimes if I'm showing him something more complicated, I might film something on Loom and just send him an email. It could be all housed in there. The other key thing that I forgot to mention is that I do meet with him via Zoom several times a week. So about 2 to 3 times a week, I meet with him in the morning and we go through stuff. And that is huge because we work through, maybe they forgot to do something, or, hey, I have this idea about this new thing. What do you think? And once you get a VA that's really excited about what you do and is invested, they can help you think of new things and help you work through the process of how that would go. Like if I have maybe a new digital product that I want to go out there, I'll say, let's brainstorm together this process and how we're going to walk through how to get that out the door because there's several moving parts to it. So it's handy as a solopreneur to have someone that you can bounce some of that stuff off of, and they can say, okay, well, I know the way MailChimp works, and you're going to need this, this, and this in place for, that email subscription to go all the way through and then to finally get that digital product. So,
right.
So just having multiple, times that you can talk, it makes everything flow better. And I do have another, a realtor that I help with his VAs, and it's all done via email. And I will tell you, when I jump on a call with them and just walk through everything, so much easier than all the back and forth email, because things get missed, and it's just, there tends to be, 30 emails flying back and forth. I'm just like, can we just get on a Zoom really quick? So, yeah.
I'm with you. After like the second or the third email, I'm like, why don't we jump on a call or a meeting link? Because I don't want to go down this rabbit hole of back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Are you open to sharing how you found Vince? What did that process look like?
Well, okay. So I was lucky because part of what my coach does, she's all about productivity and all of that. She helps vet VAs for you.
Oh, wow.
So she found my VA and puts him through, puts he or she through a bunch of tests. And then finally, when she feels she's got a couple decent people to show me, then I do a little mini interview. So I was lucky in that way. But I have also recently hired someone for that same realtor client, a video editor, and I just went to onlinejobs.ph. So if you're looking for a Filipino virtual assistant, you can get an account on there and then put, what you're looking for, and you'll get all sorts of people applying for your job. You can also go through kind of on the other end and look at people first and invite them to apply. So that's a great way, and it'll show, how much they're charging per hour, what their specialties are, what they're looking for, that kind of thing.
Awesome. That's great. So almost like a job board of sorts, but specific to the Philippines. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So how has adding Vince to the team and the implementation of this kind of system that you have worked out with him changed the daily operations of your agency?
Yeah. So I've gotten to the point now where I'm doing less of the, like I said, a lot of the graphic design work and those kind of things. And as my systems improve, before we would do, maybe a couple each week and then review them and then send them on. But now I have him doing, a big batch for the month. And so then I'll just review that at the beginning of the month, and then I will send it to the client and they'll review it at the beginning of the month. And then I have him schedule it, and then it's just kind of gravy. So it has been really nice. And that's been more recent just because I've been having more clients say, hey, could you just get me a month's worth? And I thought, yeah, why am I not doing that? And some of it's just like, oh, I got to think of a month's worth up ahead. But it really does help when you're, blocking that time and saying, okay, I'm going to work on this client for the next X hours, and then it's done. And then you can move on to the next thing. So it's helping with focus, and it's helping once you have that client done at the beginning of the month. Then each week we take a different client and we're like, okay, this is X client week and we'll do that stuff. And then this is X client week and we'll do that stuff. So it's making it more efficient that way. And a lot of those clients, now that Vince has been doing this long enough and he knows, all of their different looks and their voice and things like that, I'm having to step in less and less to make changes. Now, there are still changes. Like every time I go through something, I definitely have to make edits. So I never have him send things to the client directly. Some people do that. I'm not comfortable with that. Again, control freak. And I don't want, I don't want them to see something that is a mistake. I have years of marketing experience. Vince doesn't. So there's different things that I can weigh in on that say, oh, I don't know if we should phrase it that way. That, that kind of stuff that definitely plays in. And I always tell my clients, you will never see anything without me reviewing it and tweaking it. So, so they know that up front.
Right. So they know there's that value is always still there in the background.
Yeah.
So getting down to the nitty gritty, how did doing this, hiring an assistant, kind of putting these systems in place, increase your profit by $40,000?
Yes. So that was huge. It's mostly, like I said before, I had Vince, I would just cap out and I'd say, okay, this is it. Like, I have no more time. Mm-hmm. I would get scared. Someone would ask me something, I'd want to do it, but then I'd say, I don't want to be staying up, Thursday night till 10 p.m. doing this. Like, that's not my jam. I'm more, 5:30, I'm out, and I don't want to be, doing all that. So really now, almost any opportunity that comes my way, if it sounds like a good fit, I say yes. Because I know, it's not 100% that it's going to happen, first of all, but I know that between Vince and I, we can get it done. And now that I'm comfortable with working with virtual assistants, even if it gets to the point where it's too much for the two of us, I'm like, I can hire someone else and help, and they can help. So getting over that mental hurdle of, I have to do it all myself was really the key that unlocked, more profitability, because I can take on more clients and I have more time even just to do proposals. Like before, I'd see a huge proposal. I'm like, oh, I don't have time to even look at that. And now some of those proposals, I'm like, okay, it's worth the time sitting down and doing that proposal because this could be a really big one. And now I know that I can do it. I can, between Vince and possibly someone else, if I need to, I can get it done. So that was the huge, huge difference.
Let's talk about someone else. Have you discussed with Vince, or how do you know, or what's in your brain when it comes to knowing Vince's threshold? Like, Vince can handle 5 clients, and then I know if I'm getting close to closing a 6th client, I need Vince number 2. Or what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, some of it is skill stuff. So, like, the person I would maybe think about hiring next would be a video editor. Mm-hmm. So some of it's skills based. Some of it is if I start to see things coming in later and not on time, then I'm like, okay, where are we at here? Are you, is there too much? Because often what you will see with virtual assistants, unless you tell them, I can hire you for 8 hours a day. I don't usually have 8 hours a day of work for him.
Right.
So they do have other clients. Some of them have other jobs. So you have to be aware of that. But yeah, things start, and it's happened before where it's like, okay, you're not getting me everything, exactly on time. Then we talk about it and, just try and sort it out from there. And he's usually like, oh, no, I can do it. I can do it. and then things will improve. But yeah, you will notice things not getting in on time. And that's one of the things that's happening with my real estate client is one of his VAs got a promotion at her regular job. And so things are getting later and later. And I said, I think we need to bring in somebody else to do part of this because she, this is a second thing for her. It's not her first priority and it's starting to show. So you do have to be aware of that.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, that would probably be most agency owners' worst fear is hiring a VA to help save time and then not making deliverables on time or in a timely manner.
That's it.
Were there any other specific areas where you noticed there were significant financial improvements, whether it be money garnered or even just time saved, which is really adds to the bottom dollar when you're an agency owner?
Yeah, I mean, so part of it was I didn't really talk about the systems. So part of it is having those systems in place. So looking at how I'm spending my week One of the things that I've learned to get a little bit better about is managing my calendar. So before, really, the only thing that would be on my calendar was if I've had a meeting like this, if I had a podcast guest appearance, or if I was going to an in-person meeting, well, that made it on the calendar. But just work stuff, I was like, And I was a big to-do list person.
Mm-hmm.
So, and sometimes I still fall back on that. I'm not going to lie. Like it's something I'm like on the one day at a time with my calendar management. So yeah, I'm not perfect at it whatsoever, but I have gotten better at it. And so I am blocking out time. So I know, okay, well, I've got to, pick my daughter up from school. I need to stop and make myself some lunch. So I'm putting in, little things like that I would never go on my calendar, but now it's like, well, that all takes time out of my day. So blocking out my calendar for certain things and then using ClickUp to put all of my client, tasks for Vince in there, and having that job bio, because I just went through his job bio again, and I hadn't looked at it in probably 6 or 7 months. And some clients, I wasn't even working with anymore. So I went through that, and that's when I discovered like, oh, we have a nice flow here where now the clients only need things once a month. So why don't we break it out into 1 week per client? So yeah, the systems really, it makes your brain work a little bit different. And as a creative, you might identify with this, that organization has never been my strong suit. I mean, if you looked at my closet, you would just die. It's a nightmare. And so just having a little bit more structure gives me a better picture of what I can and can't do. And it also shows me where there's pockets of possibility, like, oh, well, if I hand over this stuff to Vince, then I have more time to be on podcasts and things like that. So it's just being a lot more aware of how much time you have and managing the time better so that you can do other things. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, we sound so much like twins, other than the fact that we both wore denim to the interview today, which we did not plan. But we sound a lot like twins, because that's one of the things that I feel like I want to give that responsibility of my calendar to someone else, because I'm my own worst enemy. I'll block lunch, or I'll block this, or I'll block that. And then like essentially trying to time block, like I'm going to write a blog post here. I'm going to work on this deck here. And then I'll be like, oh, it's just behind the scenes work. I'll go ahead and schedule that thing over that. And then all of a sudden you're scrambling to get the behind the scenes work done.
Yeah.
So I feel like I need to give my calendar to a VA or events because I can't be trusted.
Well, and I will say, he does not have my calendar. That is still me. And I do it more on a day-to-day basis versus I know some people just, they map out their full week or month ahead of time and put those things in. I'm not that organized. Although I do have some things that are regularly on there to block it out. Like now we're writing the 3rd edition of Instagram for Business for Dummies. So I'm going to try and do my first hour of the day be writing time, because
smart.
Yeah, as soon as I start checking that email, it's like, So, so blocking that time out for that right in the beginning. But yeah, Vince doesn't have my calendar. That I still manage that.
I can't do it. I can't be responsible. What other advice would you give to agency owners about selecting systems or tools that help contribute to that efficiency and then therefore profitability within their agency?
I mean, really the only one I've used just for project management is ClickUp. And I do enjoy the way that it's set up. So I would say anything that works best for you is going to be the best thing. But if you're looking for something new, I don't get paid by ClickUp, anything like that. ClickUp has been nice for me, and I use it on a pretty basic level. I mean, I have what we call super toolkits, where I have kind of like a master plan of what I do for each client. So SOPs, most people would be familiar with, so I use it in that way. And then I use it to send individual tasks to Vince. And I use it for the weekly bio. But yeah, so I would say if you can just get a lot of your SOPs in there and just treat them as a living, breathing document versus a static thing that you never look at again, because especially if you are someone that's an agency owner and you're doing social media, everything's going to change. 3 months time, you're going to be doing maybe switching from graphics to all video, or, there's just going to be things that you're going to change with just the trend of whatever's going on in social media.
It sounds like you've really positioned yourself in your agency for scaling. So do you have any plans or next steps in terms of growth? Like, is there already a plan in place to hire Vince number 2?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the only person I would hire right now is a video editor. But other than that, I've noticed that a lot of agencies that went really big are shrinking back down. There's been a shrink down of people going down to more solopreneur status. And a lot of that is just, that people are spending so much on a head count that they're not taking in a lot of profit. So I don't ever see myself being this huge agency where I'm going to hire, 15, 20 people. That's not me. I don't really love managing people, to be 100% honest. I like being in touch with the clients. I like executing stuff. That's why I got into this business. So I don't really want to be a manager. I don't want to be a babysitter, any of that stuff. So I will probably always stay pretty lean. And then just add on, a few people as needed, but I don't see myself being a huge scaler.
Yeah. What do you attribute Vince's success and thereby your success too? Is there anything in particular, like a lesson that you've learned from this relationship so far that you'd be open to sharing with everybody who's watching or listening?
Yeah. Well, since I've worked with Vince, has always been my guy. But, working with this other realtor and seeing the back and forth with the way he works with the virtual assistants, I have noticed a big difference. One, as I mentioned before, just having that face-to-face, virtual face-to-face a couple times a week is huge. There's a lot of stuff that goes back and forth on email that you don't know the tone. And, sometimes I'm pretty direct on email. So I probably come off a little bit more than I mean to. If you talk to me in person, I'm quite a nice person and I joke around a lot. So I think part of that is, your personality, and you can just soften things a bit. So doing that face-to-face is really huge. But the other thing is having systems in place where you are telling that person directly what you want and giving them the tools to succeed. So when I see my client doing it, first of all, he might CC, or he might send an email, and it's to me and his 2 virtual assistants. And it just lists kind of a brain dump of what he wants done. but it doesn't specifically, it's not, it doesn't say who he wants to get it done. So then we're all looking at it like, is he talking to me? Is he talking to you? So that's part of it. And then it's slightly vague. So if you're going to work with a virtual assistant, and the reason I like working with ClickUp is you can be very specific about, okay, I need 3 graphics done for this client. This is their website. This is what I've shown, this is what I've done before. This is the content buckets that we're trying to go for. Being super specific about what you want and being clear is really important. And it's going to save a lot of headaches, a lot of emails back and forth. And it's going to set the VA up for success rather than sending them something kind of vague that you're just thinking of that they don't know what you're talking about. It helps tremendously. So that would be my tips.
Yeah, I can relate to that because my husband tells me I'm a move fast and break things person. So oftentimes I feel like I might be that person who's like, oh my God, I need you to do this because I was thinking about last night in a dream and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, what?
What do you mean?
Yeah. So the clarity part, I'm hearing what you're saying. I'm absorbing what you're saying, Corey.
Yes.
Last question for you. For those agency owners who are watching or listening and they are like, wow, I want to see the success that Corey's seen by utilizing a VA and these systems, what would be your one piece of advice for them? Where should they start in the process of doing these things?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing is just taking a hard look at everything you're doing right now and then put together a list of what you think a virtual assistant can do for you and decide, do I need just one and they're going to do a bunch of everything? Or do I need somebody, do I need more of an admin? And then do I need maybe somebody that's more creative or like a video editor? So really being clear about what tasks that you think that person can take over, and then being realistic about what a virtual assistant can do. There's definitely some, virtual assistant, just because they're a virtual assistant doesn't mean that they can do, all sorts of things. They're people that specialize in different things. So if you need somebody to manage your back systems, look for that person. If you want somebody that's super creative and can create videos for you, there's people that specialize in that. So don't expect everything to happen from one person because it's not likely that you're going to get it if it's, things that are really a specific skill.
I like the advice of temper your expectations because I feel like, I'm listening to what you're saying because I'm like, I need you to do this list of things and I want them all done perfectly because we're perfectionists and I'm probably just, setting myself up for failure.
Well, yeah, the key, definitely the key on that is those SOPs or toolkits that walk them through how to do it. So you're setting them up for success, and then you won't be frustrated because you're thinking, you have years and years of knowledge of how all this works, and it's all in your brain. And for you, it's easy. So it's like, duh, why can't they get this? But it's like, well, yeah, you've been doing this forever.
Yeah.
And this person is walking in and knows nothing about your business or your client. So it's really important that you get that stuff clear so that they can do the best job that they can and that you aren't frustrated going, why don't they get this?
So true. So I know that people are going to find all of this fascinating like I did. I wrote a lot of notes just like I thought I would. Where can people find you and what are you working on?
Yes. Well, if you want to find me on Instagram, I'm there often, and that's my handle is on the screen right now at Corey C. Walker. And or my website is themarketingspecialist.com. And then I have just literally opened my my old files from Instagram for Business for Dummies from, I think it was 2001 is maybe the last time we did that that book version. So I'm in the process right now of writing the third edition of Instagram for Business for Dummies. So
very cool. I have read those books and I cannot wait to see. I'm the dummy who buys the book, so I can't wait to see the next edition.
Yay.
Well, thank you so much, Corey, for joining us and for all of your fantastic advice. I especially need to hear it, so I'll be listening to this episode again. Everybody else, we'll see you next time.